Have you ever found yourself lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, your mind racing from one worry to another? A conversation you wish had gone differently, a decision you keep doubting, or a future problem that hasn't even arrived, but already feels like a storm cloud hanging over you? If so, you're not alone. In fact, every one of us, at some point, becomes a prisoner of our own thoughts. We get trapped in endless cycles of overthinking, replaying the past, fearing the future, and forgetting the present moment entirely. But here's something we often forget: the mind is like water. When it's turbulent, it's difficult to see, but when it becomes calm, clarity appears. In today's video, we're going to explore why overthinking is not just an annoying habit, it's a silent poison that clouds our judgment, steals our peace, and keeps us from experiencing the simple beauty of life as it unfolds. And most importantly, we'll turn to the wisdom of the Buddha to learn how to quiet this restless mind. Ancient teachings that, though spoken centuries ago, feel as if they were written for the very struggles we face today. So, if your mind feels heavy, restless, or exhausted from its own noise, stay with me until the end of this video. Because sometimes, all it takes is a gentle reminder to return to ourselves, to find peace in the present, and to set down the burdens we were never meant to carry. Let's begin. Overthinking often disguises itself as something useful. It pretends to be preparation, caution, or problem solving. We tell ourselves, if I think about this long enough, maybe I'll find the perfect solution. But the truth is, most of the time, we're not solving anything. We're simply rehearsing fears, regrets, and anxieties on a loop. It's like carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones, believing that if we just rearrange them enough times, it will somehow feel lighter. But no matter how many times you move those stones around, the weight remains the same, until you finally decide to set the bag down. The Buddha often reminded his followers of the dangers of clinging, not just to material things, but to thoughts, emotions, and illusions. In the Dhammapada, it is said, whatever is subject to arising is subject to ceasing. This includes our thoughts. They appear, they linger, and then, if we allow them, they pass away like clouds drifting across the sky. The problem arises when we grab hold of every thought, dissect it, fear it, or believe it defines us. But a thought is just a thought, it is not you. You are the awareness behind those thoughts, the calm observer beneath the surface of the restless mind. Have you ever watched a river flowing? Leaves, twigs, and little bits of debris pass by, carried along by the current. Our thoughts are like that. The mistake we make is reaching into the water, grabbing every leaf, inspecting it, and refusing to let it go. No wonder our hands grow tired, our hearts heavy. What if, instead of chasing every thought, we learn to sit by the riverbank and simply watch them pass? The Buddha taught the practice of mindfulness for this very reason, to return us to the present moment, where life actually happens, not in the regrets of the past, not in the fears of the future, but here, now. One of the simplest ways to anchor yourself in the now is through your breath. It's always with you, it asks for nothing, and it holds the power to quiet even the stormiest mind. When your thoughts begin to race, pause, close your eyes if you can, and take a deep, conscious breath. Feel the air entering your lungs, and notice how, for a brief moment, the endless chatter softens. It's in these small pauses that peace begins to grow. But of course, the mind will wander again. And that's okay. It's not about forcing the mind to be silent, but about gently guiding it back, like leading a child by the hand. Each time you return, you strengthen your awareness. Each time you let a thought drift by without clinging, you reclaim a little more space within yourself. In this way, over time, the habit of overthinking weakens. The tangled knots loosen, and what once felt like a storm becomes a gentle breeze. Stay with me, because in the next part, I'll share with you a simple, beautiful Buddhist practice you can begin today, a ritual of stillness that has brought clarity and calm to countless hearts over the centuries. Let's continue. One of the simplest, yet most powerful practices the Buddha offered is something called anapanasati, which means mindfulness of breathing. It's so simple, many overlook it, but within this quiet act lies the key to calming a restless mind. You see, the breath is always happening in the present. It doesn't belong to the past, and it cannot be pulled into the future. It's here, right now, rising and falling like gentle waves upon the shore. And when you anchor your awareness to your breathing, even for a few moments, you create a quiet space between yourself and the noise of your thoughts. So, how do we practice this? Find a quiet place, perhaps in your room, beneath a tree, or even while sitting at your desk. Close your eyes if you wish, and simply notice your breath. Feel the coolness as it enters your nostrils, the warmth as it leaves. Don't try to control it. Don't force it to be deep or shallow. Just observe. At first, your mind will wander. It might chase after unfinished conversations, tomorrow's to-do list, or old memories you thought you'd forgotten. That's okay. This is natural. The practice isn't about perfection, it's about returning. Each time you notice your mind has drifted, gently bring it back to the breath. Not with frustration, but with the tenderness you might offer a dear friend who's lost their way. Can you imagine how it feels, even for a minute, to simply be, without chasing, without clinging, without resisting, to rest, fully present, in the quiet rhythm of life itself? The Buddha taught that the mind is like a candle flame in the wind, easily disturbed, flickering in every direction, but through mindful breathing, the wind begins to settle. The flame grows steady, and in that steady light, we begin to see things clearly, not as we fear them to be, but as they truly are. This clarity is not something dramatic or overwhelming. It often arrives in the subtlest of ways, a sense of ease in your chest, a slight loosening of the tension in your jaw, or a fleeting moment where your heart feels a little lighter. And the beautiful thing is, you don't need hours to experience it. Even a single mindful breath can be enough to interrupt the cycle of overthinking. To remind you that you are here, alive, and safe in this moment. What if, each time you caught yourself spiraling into restless thought, you paused for just 3 mindful breaths? How different might your day feel? How much more spacious could your mind become? This is not about escaping your problems or pretending life is always calm. It's about meeting each moment as it is, with steady awareness, and trusting that even in uncertainty, peace is possible. In the next part of our journey, I'll share with you a beautiful parable from the Buddha's teachings. A simple story with a profound lesson about the nature of our thoughts and the wisdom of letting go. Stay with me. There's a well-loved parable from the Buddha's teachings that speaks beautifully to the way we carry unnecessary burdens in our minds. Perhaps you've heard it before, but like all great wisdom, it's worth revisiting. One day, the Buddha was sitting by a river with his disciples. He picked up a stick and drew a simple image in the sand. Then, he turned to them and asked, "If a person were crossing this river with a raft, what would you say if, after reaching the other shore, he decided to carry the raft on his back as he continued his journey?" The disciples smiled, understanding the point. "It would be foolish, Master," one of them replied. "The raft was useful for crossing. But once on the other side, it serves no purpose." The Buddha nodded. "Exactly," he said, "and so it is with our thoughts. Our beliefs, our attachments, they may serve us at one time. But if we continue to cling to them after they've served their purpose, we only burden ourselves. Isn't that what overthinking does? We build a raft out of worries, fears, and endless what-ifs, convincing ourselves we needed to stay afloat. But more often than not, we've already crossed the river, the danger has passed. The decision has been made. The moment is gone, yet we carry the weight of those thoughts long after they've ceased to be helpful. Imagine how much lighter you would feel if you simply put the raft down. This story reminds us of the gentle wisdom in letting go. Not recklessly, not by forcing ourselves to forget, but by recognizing when something no longer serves our peace of mind. That restless thought you've been turning over in your head for days, does it truly help you now? Or is it a raft you no longer need to carry? The path of Buddhist wisdom isn't about suppressing thoughts or pretending life is without difficulty. It's about meeting life as it comes, responding with awareness, and knowing when to release what weighs us down. Overthinking often keeps us stuck because it convinces us we are safer in our heads than in the present moment. But life is not happening in the endless loops of yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's worries. It's happening here, in this very breath, the next time your mind begins to spiral. Remember this story. Picture yourself beside that river, the raft resting at your feet. Ask yourself, am I still crossing? Or am I carrying what no longer needs to be held? In that question lies the beginning of freedom. And in our next part, I'll share with you a gentle daily practice, one you can weave into your morning or evening, to help release the mental clutter and return to the quiet center of your being. I invite you to stay with me. You're not alone on this path. So how can we begin to quiet this restless, overthinking mind? How do we loosen the grip of thoughts that cling to us like shadows, following us everywhere we go? The Buddha often spoke about the importance of mindfulness, the simple, yet profound act of being fully present with whatever is happening right now. Not lost in yesterday's regrets, nor tangled in tomorrow's worries, but here, in this very moment. And one of the most beautiful practices to help with this is called mindful breathing. It might sound too simple at first. Just breathe, that's it, but in the simplicity lies its quiet power. Let me guide you through a gentle reflection you can try later today. Or even right now as you listen. Find a quiet space, or simply sit where you are. Close your eyes if it feels comfortable. Then, bring your attention to your breath. Notice the coolness of the air as it enters your nostrils. Feel your chest rise, your belly expand. Then notice the warmth of your breath as you release it. You don't need to force anything. No need to breathe deeper or slower than usual. Just observe, like watching a leaf floating gently down a stream. When a thought arises, as it naturally will, don't scold yourself. Don't chase it. Don't wrestle with it. Simply notice it. Label it softly in your mind, thinking. Then, gently return your awareness to your breath. This small, tender act of noticing and returning is the very heart of the practice. It's like training a wild little bird to sit quietly in your palm. At first, it will flutter away again and again. But with patience, it begins to settle. Over time, you'll start to see a shift. The space between your thoughts grows a little wider. The storm in your mind softens, even if just for a moment. And in those moments, you glimpse something precious, the clarity and peace that have always been within you, patiently waiting beneath the surface of restless thoughts. This isn't about erasing your mind or stopping thoughts altogether. The nature of the mind is to think, just as the nature of the wind is to blow. But through mindfulness, you learn to watch the thoughts come and go without being carried away by them. And isn't that what we all long for? Not to be trapped in the endless maze of our minds, but to walk through life with steady, clear steps, grounded, aware, and at peace. In our next part, I'd love to share a small but powerful daily habit from Buddhist wisdom that can help you prevent overthinking before it begins. A practice so simple, yet so nourishing, that it can change the way you meet each day. So stay with me, dear friend. This path, though quiet and gentle, leads to a freedom deeper than words. There's a gentle truth in Buddhist practice. What we plant in the morning often blooms throughout the day. If we begin with noise, hurry, and scattered thoughts, that tends to shape the way our mind behaves until nightfall. But if we start with stillness, with intention and clarity, we create a kind of inner sanctuary that stays with us, no matter how loud the world becomes. One of the simplest and most nourishing habits you can build is a morning moment of silence. It doesn't require a shrine, incense, or elaborate rituals, just a quiet pause before the day rushes in. When you wake up, before reaching for your phone, before the tide of notifications and headlines crash over you, sit quietly for a few minutes. It could be on the edge of your bed, by a window, or even while you're still lying down. Close your eyes and take 3 deep, conscious breaths. With each inhale, gently say to yourself, "I am here." And with each exhale, "I let go." Inhale, "I am here." Exhale, "I let go." It's astonishing how something so small can shift the entire tone of your day. What you're doing is quietly telling your mind, "I don't have to chase every thought. I don't need to solve everything right now. I can begin in stillness." This tiny ritual becomes like placing a steady stone at the center of a river. The water will keep flowing, as thoughts always do, but now there's a grounding point, a silent witness amidst the current. And if you like, you can follow those breaths with a simple reflection. What would I like to offer this day? How can I move through it with kindness, clarity, and peace? You don't have to force an answer. Sometimes, just asking the question plants a seed in the heart. And throughout the hours ahead, you might find yourself responding to life a little softer, a little slower, with a little more wisdom. This isn't about perfection. Some mornings, your mind will race. Some days, worries will sneak in before you can even open your eyes. That's all right. The beauty of practice is not in never stumbling, but in choosing to begin again, as many times as you need. As Buddhist teacher Ajahn Chah once said, "If you let go a little, you'll have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you'll have a lot of peace." This simple morning habit is a way of practicing that little letting go, one breath at a time. And as you carry that quiet intention through your day, you'll begin to notice something subtle. The mind, though still noisy at times, starts to obey the gentle command of your awareness, like a restless animal soothed by a patient hand. In our next part, I'll share a story from the Buddha's own life, a powerful moment of teaching about the nature of thoughts and how we can release ourselves from their grip. So stay with me, dear friend. This path, step by step, breath by breath, is leading you home. There's a beautiful story from the Buddha's life that holds a timeless teaching for anyone trapped in the cycle of overthinking. One evening, as the sun was setting and the world softened into twilight, the Buddha sat with a group of his disciples by a quiet lake. The water was still, reflecting the colors of the sky, a perfect mirror of peace. In that moment, a young monk approached him, his face clouded with worry. "Master," the monk began, "my mind is full of restless thoughts. I try to meditate, but my head feels like a tangled knot. No matter how hard I push them away, the thoughts keep coming back. What should I do?" The Buddha smiled gently, and instead of replying immediately, he asked the monk to fetch a cup of water from the lake. The young monk did as he was told, but as he stepped into the water, a passing breeze stirred the surface. Ripples spread across it, and a few leaves floated by. When the monk returned, the water in the cup was cloudy. "Master," he said, "the water's not clear, it's too disturbed to drink." The Buddha looked at him and said softly, "Set the cup down, and let it be." A little while passed, and the ripples in the cup gradually settled. The leaves drifted to the bottom, and the water grew clear once again. The Buddha pointed to the cup and spoke, "Your mind is like this water. When it is disturbed, it is difficult to see clearly. But if you allow it to be still, without trying to force the ripples away, clarity will return by itself." Isn't that a beautiful image? So often, we try to fight our thoughts, to chase them away, to hold our mind still by force. But like ripples on water, the more we struggle, the more we stir things up. The wisdom here is gentle. Instead of battling every thought, we can learn to observe them, to watch them arise, dance across the surface of our awareness, and then pass on, like clouds drifting through the sky. They are not permanent, they are not who we are. Over time, this simple practice, of pausing, of watching, of letting be, allows the mind to settle naturally. And when the waters grow still, what once seemed confusing becomes clear. You may ask yourself, "But how long will it take for my mind to become peaceful?" The truth is, there's no fixed answer. Some days the lake within you will be calm. Other days, storms will pass through. The point is not to demand stillness, but to practice being with things as they are, without resistance. That alone is a powerful shift. In our next part, we'll explore one more teaching, a powerful reminder from Buddhist wisdom about the impermanence of thoughts and how realizing this can free us from the prison of overthinking. So stay with me, dear friend. Each story, each breath, each quiet moment is a step toward the peace you've been searching for. As we continue this gentle journey together, let's turn to one of the Buddha's most powerful teachings, the nature of impermanence. In Pali, the word is anicca. It means that everything in this world, every thought, every feeling, every situation, is temporary. Nothing lasts forever, and while this may sound simple, It carries a wisdom deep enough to change the way we experience our lives. Think for a moment, how many times have you been trapped in a thought, believing it would stay with you forever? Perhaps a moment of regret, a sudden wave of worry, or an old memory that seemed to grip your heart so tightly you couldn't breathe. In those moments, the mind convinces us, this is permanent, this will never leave me. But is that really true? Look back at your own life. Emotions have come and gone. Thoughts have arrived, lingered, and disappeared like guests at a gathering. Even the deepest sorrow you once carried has softened with time. The seasons within us shift, just as the world outside our window turns from dawn to dusk. The Buddha compared this to clouds in the sky. No matter how heavy or dark the clouds, they cannot stay forever. Eventually, the wind will carry them away, and the clear sky will reveal itself once again. When we truly understand this, we no longer have to fear our thoughts. We don't have to wrestle with them, or cling to them, or run from them. Instead, we can simply acknowledge, this too shall pass. Imagine your mind as a wide, open sky. Thoughts are just passing clouds. Some are light and harmless, others heavy and stormy, but none of them are the sky itself. The sky remains vast, unchanging, untouched by whatever moves through it. This perspective frees us. It teaches us to witness the rise and fall of mental states without becoming entangled in them. Yes, there may be days when overthinking storms in like a monsoon. But even the fiercest storm cannot stay forever. The Buddhist monk Ajahn Chah once said, "If you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will have a lot of peace. And if you let go completely, you will discover complete freedom." So, dear one, the practice is not about stopping your thoughts, nor about silencing the mind entirely. It's about learning to let go, moment by moment, to watch each thought come, and to trust that it will also go. Next, I'll share a simple yet beautiful meditation you can try whenever you feel trapped by overthinking. A practice to anchor yourself in the here and now, and gently watch the waves of your mind from a place of quiet awareness. Stay with me. The path becomes clearer with each step. Now, let's gently step into practice. Because wisdom is not something we only read or listen to, it's something we live. Moment by moment, I'd like to invite you to try a simple meditation. One that requires no special place, no elaborate posture, just you, right where you are, whether you're sitting by a window, lying in bed, or even walking slowly through a quiet garden. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Or, soften your gaze. Begin by taking a slow, deep breath, in through your nose, and gently out through your mouth. Feel the air as it moves, like a soft breeze passing through an open door. Now, shift your attention to your thoughts. Not to stop them, not to judge them, but simply to notice. Imagine them like leaves floating on a gentle stream. Some drift by quickly, others linger. You might catch yourself following one for a while, that's okay. When you notice this, kindly return your focus to the stream itself. Can you sense how, beneath the surface of every thought, there's a quiet space? A vast stillness, patiently waiting? This is the natural state of your mind. Like the calm depths beneath restless waves. If a thought comes, I need to finish that task. Or, why did they say that to me? Notice it. Smile at it as you would at an old friend passing by. And let it go. You don't have to hold it. You don't have to push it away either. Let it float. If emotions rise, perhaps worry, sadness, or frustration, place a gentle awareness on them too. Here is worry, acknowledge it, and then let it move on. Like a cloud crossing the sky. Keep your breath as your anchor. Each time your mind wanders, as it naturally will, return to the sensation of your breath. In and out, the steady, quiet rhythm of life itself. Even a few minutes of this practice can bring clarity and ease to a busy mind. Over time, you may begin to notice that your thoughts no longer carry the same weight. They lose their power to pull you into endless loops of overthinking. As the great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh would say, feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. And in this simple act of noticing, breathing, and letting go, you reclaim a precious truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that watches them. This is freedom. This is peace. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore how to gently bring this mindful awareness into everyday life, into conversations, decisions, and those quiet moments when the mind tries to pull us back into old habits. Stay with me, dear friend. The wisdom of presence is always within reach. Now that you've tasted a moment of stillness, the question becomes, how do we carry this into the rest of our lives? Into our work, our relationships, and those ordinary moments that quietly shape our days? The truth is, mindfulness isn't something reserved for meditation cushions or mountain retreats. It's meant for the marketplace, the kitchen, the quiet of dawn, and the chaos of rush hour. Every place, every moment, is an opportunity to return to yourself. When you find yourself lost in thought, maybe replaying a conversation from yesterday, or worrying about tomorrow, pause. Take one conscious breath. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Notice your feet on the ground, your body in this space. Just like that, you've stepped out of the tangled branches of the mind and into the clear, open sky of awareness. It's simple, but not always easy. That's why we practice. The Buddha often taught that enlightenment is not found in grand, mystical experiences, but in the very act of seeing things as they are. When you wash a dish, just wash the dish. When you drink tea, just drink tea. How often do we allow ourselves to truly be with what we're doing? Perhaps you've experienced those rare moments when everything feels vivid. The warmth of sunlight on your face, the sound of wind moving through leaves, the subtle sweetness of ripe fruit on your tongue. In those moments, thinking falls away, and you are simply here. That is presence. That is Dharma in action. So the next time you feel the old habit of overthinking creeping in, gently ask yourself, what is happening right now? Not in your mind, but in your body, in your breath, in the space around you. Let the present moment speak. And remember, this practice is not about perfection. It's about beginning again and again, as many times as it takes. Each time you notice yourself caught in thought, and you return to this moment, you are awakening. You don't need to escape your life to find peace. It's already here, quietly waiting beneath the noise, like a clear pool beneath a restless stream. And the more you rest in this awareness, the less power those old patterns of overthinking will have over you. Slowly, the mind becomes a servant, not a master, a helpful tool, not a tyrant. In this way, every day becomes a sacred practice. Every conversation, a chance to listen with your whole being. Every small frustration, an invitation to respond with kindness instead of reaction. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom, to wake up fully to this life, just as it is, with all its beauty, sorrow, simplicity, and mystery. Stay with me, dear friend. In our next reflection, we'll look deeper into how to work with difficult emotions that fuel overthinking, and how compassion, especially for yourself, can quiet even the loudest storms within. As we continue this quiet journey inward, let's turn our attention to a truth that many of us quietly carry. Behind overthinking often hides a deeper emotion. Fear, anxiety, insecurity, a restless yearning for control over what cannot be controlled. Have you ever noticed how, when you overthink, it's rarely about something light or easy? It's about mistakes you might make, outcomes you can't predict, or the judgments of others you'll never truly know. The mind spins these stories because it's trying to protect you, but in doing so, it often builds walls around the heart. The Buddha understood this deeply. He taught that suffering doesn't come from what happens to us, but from our resistance to what is. And much of overthinking is exactly that, a refusal to be with what is. A frantic search for certainty in a world that will never offer it. So how do we soften this? How do we meet the sharp edges of our own fear without turning away? The answer is compassion. Not just compassion for others, but for yourself, for the tender places within you that ache for safety, for the restless mind that only wants to shield you from pain. When we bring compassion into the conversation, everything begins to loosen. Imagine, for a moment, your overthinking mind as a frightened child tugging at your sleeve. Would you scold that child? Or would you kneel down, meet their eyes, and gently ask, "What are you afraid of?" This is how we work with our own difficult emotions. Not by suppressing them, nor by letting them take control, but by listening with kindness. The next time you find yourself spiraling in thought, pause, place a hand over your heart, or feel the warmth of your own breath. You might softly whisper, "It's okay, I'm here." Such a simple act, yet it carries immense power. It reminds the mind that it doesn't have to solve everything. It reminds the heart that it is held. And in this tender space of presence, something shifts. The stories lose their grip. The need for certainty eases. The storm passes, not because the world has changed, but because you have remembered your own depth, your own capacity to be with life as it unfolds. As Thich Nhat Hanh so beautifully said, "Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor." Let this be your practice too. When overthinking clouds your inner sky, return to your breath, anchor yourself in this living moment. Offer kindness to the parts of you that struggle, and know that each time you do, you are dissolving the very roots of suffering. In our next reflection, we'll explore how to cultivate habits of mindful attention, so that peace, rather than fear, becomes the ground you stand upon. Stay close, dear friend, the path continues. Now, let's gently move from understanding to practice, from recognizing the roots of our overthinking, to cultivating habits that invite peace into our daily lives. You see, overthinking doesn't appear out of nowhere. It grows quietly in the small, unnoticed corners of our day. It creeps in when we scroll endlessly through our phones, when we rush from one task to the next without a pause, or when we fall asleep with a mind still racing through unfinished conversations and imagined futures. The antidote to this restless, scattered mind is presence. And the good news is, presence isn't something you have to wait for or earn. It's already here, quietly available in each breath. In the warmth of your morning tea. In the softness of evening light falling through the window. But like a garden, it must be tended. One beautiful practice is to set small, gentle anchors throughout your day, reminders that call you back to this moment. Back to yourself. You might place a smooth stone on your desk. And each time you notice it, take a conscious breath, or pause before each meal to offer silent gratitude, letting yourself truly taste the first bite. These aren't grand rituals, but simple acts of remembrance. The Buddha often spoke of sati, mindfulness, as a thread we can weave through every action. When you wash your hands, feel the coolness of the water. When you walk, notice the contact between your feet and the earth. When a thought arises, even one heavy with worry, see it as just that, a thought. Like a cloud passing across the sky. And here's something tender to remember: the goal isn't to empty your mind, but to befriend it, to notice when it wanders, and gently, kindly bring it back. Have you ever watched a candle flicker in a quiet room? Even when the air stirs, the flame steadies itself, returning again and again to stillness. This is the nature of practice. The mind will drift, and you will return. Some days, the return feels effortless. Other days, it may take every ounce of patience you have. Both are practice, both are worthy. And with time, these small, mindful pauses begin to reshape the texture of your days. Overthinking softens. The noise in your mind quiets. Not because life has become simpler, but because you've become more rooted, more intimate with the ground beneath your feet. It's like tuning a string on a delicate instrument. Too tight, and it snaps. Too loose, and it cannot hold a note. Mindfulness teaches us to find that living balance, to be awake, but at ease, to be aware, but not entangled. In our next reflection, we'll explore how to gently let go of the need to control outcomes, and how freedom arises not from changing the world, but from changing the way we meet it. Stay with me, dear one. This path belongs to you. As our journey unfolds, let's turn now to one of the deepest causes of overthinking, the craving to control. Beneath every anxious thought, every restless loop of what if and should I, there is often a simple, very human wish to make the world safe, predictable, and certain. But life, as you and I both know, was never meant to be tamed. Have you ever noticed how tightly the mind clings to imagined outcomes? How it rehearses conversations that may never happen, or worries about futures that may never arrive? It builds invisible cages, locking itself into a constant battle with uncertainty. The Buddha, in his wisdom, taught that the root of our suffering isn't uncertainty itself, it's our resistance to it. We fear what we cannot control, and so we tighten our grip. Yet the tighter we hold, the more restless we become. Freedom, paradoxically, begins the moment we loosen that grip. Imagine holding water in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. But if you soften your palm, the water remains. In the same way, life flows best when we meet it with an open hand, not a clenched fist. So how do we begin to release this need to control? The first step is simply to notice. Notice when your thoughts start racing ahead, trying to predict or prevent. Notice when you shrink away from the unknown. And instead of following those thoughts down their endless pathways, pause, take a breath, bring yourself back to this very moment. You might ask yourself quietly, can I be with this, just as it is? Some moments, the answer will be yes. Others, it may be no, and that too is part of the practice. What matters is the intention, the willingness to gently turn toward life instead of against it. Another beautiful way to soften control is through the practice of letting go in small, everyday ways. Leave a text unanswered for a little while. Step outside without your phone. Let yourself not have the last word in a conversation. These tiny acts of surrender remind the mind that it's safe not to hold everything. In time, you may discover a quiet courage growing within you, not the kind that comes from controlling life, but the kind born from trusting yourself to meet it, whatever it brings. As Zen master Shunryu Suzuki once said, "In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few." When we let go of our rigid certainties, we open to a world far richer, more alive, and beautifully unpredictable. And in that spaciousness, overthinking loses its grip, not because the world has become less uncertain, but because you've become more willing to stand in the heart of it, steady, awake, and free. In our next reflection, dear friend, we'll explore how loving kindness, both for ourselves and others, can heal the restless mind and bring ease to the places that hurt the most. Until then, be gentle with yourself. This path asks for patience, not perfection. And so, let us pause here for a moment. Take a deep breath in, and let it go. Feel your chest rise and fall. Notice the present moment holding you quietly, like the calm surface of a lake untouched by wind. In this stillness, the mind finds its natural home. You see, the mind was never meant to be a battlefield of relentless thoughts. It was meant to be like clear water, reflecting, observing, witnessing without clinging. Overthinking happens when we forget this. When we start chasing after every thought like leaves blown by the wind. But no matter how many leaves you try to catch, there will always be more. Have you ever felt that? Like no matter how many thoughts you answer, another one immediately takes its place? The Buddha taught that much of our suffering is born from this endless mental chasing. And so, he offered a practice, simple yet profound, mindfulness of breathing. Not to force the mind to stop thinking, for that is a form of struggle too, but to gently anchor it to the rhythm of life itself. Each breath you take is a reminder that you are alive. Here, now. You don't have to solve everything in this moment. You don't have to carry the weight of tomorrow or the regrets of yesterday. The breath asks nothing of you, yet it gives you everything: peace, presence, and a doorway to clarity. And when a thought arises, as it surely will, what do? Instead of grabbing it or pushing it away, we simply notice it. Thinking. And then, return to the breath. This gentle returning, over and over again, is the heart of practice. It's not about achieving a perfectly empty mind, but about transforming our relationship with the thoughts that visit us. Over time, you'll notice something miraculous. The thoughts lose their power. What once felt heavy now feels like a passing cloud. What once controlled you now simply moves by, without you needing to react. Isn't it beautiful? The mind, when cared for, returns to its natural, spacious state, no longer poisoned by overthinking, no longer weighed down by endless inner debates. Just open, clear, and aware. like the sky watching clouds drift by, unattached, untroubled, and this is where peace lives. And so, dear friend, as this reflection gently draws to a close, let us remember this simple, timeless truth: you are not your thoughts. You are the silent awareness behind them. The watcher, the witness. Thoughts will come and go. Worries will arise. Plans, memories, and fears, they will visit. Uninvited and often unannounced, but none of them define you. Like clouds passing across an open sky, their presence need not disturb the vastness of your being. Have you ever looked up at the sky and noticed how no matter how many clouds gather, the sky itself remains untouched? Clear, infinite, patiently holding it all. That is your true nature. That is the nature of mind when freed from overthinking. The Buddha, in his great compassion, didn't promise us a life without difficulty. What he offered was a way to meet it, with wisdom, with kindness, and with a heart steady like a mountain, unmoved by every passing storm. So tonight, when you lay your head down, or tomorrow when the world feels heavy again, remember this breath, remember this moment of quiet. You don't have to chase every thought. You don't have to untangle every problem. Sometimes, the most courageous thing you can do is to simply be here. To breathe, to smile gently at the mind's restless waves, and let them pass, because peace isn't something you find in a distant place. It's not hidden in a future achievement or waiting in the approval of others. It lives right here, in this very breath, in the silent stillness of your heart. Thank you for walking this path with me today. May your mind be clear, your heart be light, and your days filled with gentle awareness. Until we meet again, take care, dear one, and if this message has brought you a little peace today, I invite you to join our growing circle here at Daily Dharma Wisdom. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell, so you won't miss the next moment of calm and reflection we'll share together. Every day, we walk this path step by step, breath by breath, and it's always more beautiful when we're not walking it alone. Thank you for being here, dear one. Until next time, be well.